Last night was nothing less than a statement made to the entire country of what Florida State is going to be in 2023. Final score in Orlando, Florida State 45, LSU 24. They absolutely handled business. And now we got to kind of turn our gaze to what Florida State could be the rest of the way. Now, it's only week one, so you know how we talk about it on here. We do not overproject, we do not overreact, but we do have to tell the truth today about what happened in this game and about what it could mean going forward for Florida State in the ACC and what it could mean for the college football playoff race. But let's kind of unpack this just a little bit. First things first, make sure you're subscribed right here to the On3 YouTube channel. We talk college football every single day, live in living color on this very platform, 11 a.m. Eastern, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So 3 times a week. Those 3 days, come back here, get in the live chat. We'll hear from y'all. We'll have a good time. Again, college football and nothing else. Thank you so much for that. Now, I want to make sure we address this as well. Florida State fans, hand up, that's on me. I was wrong about your football team in this game. I thought Florida State would be really good this season. I did not expect them to put on the clinic they did last night and in the fashion they did. So we own our misses. This is a miss by yours truly. And Florida State did their thing last night in a way that I did not expect them to do it. I thought it'd be close, thought it could be back and forth, but the definitive nature in which they won that game showed so much poise. Florida State, going into the half, they're down. And even, to be honest with you, the way that it felt in that first half, and I'd be curious to hear how Florida State fans felt, the way that I felt was, man, LSU really kind of left some points out there. They had 2 drives. They didn't kick field goals. They go for them 4th down. But for Florida State to just continue to go rounds with LSU and to eat punches in that first half, even honestly in that third quarter where they kind of took a second to get rolling, the way that they were able to steady themselves, have no panic in a neutral site game, even as well as Florida State's fans traveled for that game, the way that they were able to collect themselves was nothing less than championship caliber. Because we knew that Florida State had dudes, right? Like we knew in this game, the rosters would be fairly evenly matched. A lot of talent for LSU, a lot of talent for Florida State. But the way that Florida State was able to go 4 quarters and not get too high, not get too low, and to handle the first half run from LSU. I mean, even the first play is a great example. They rip off a big gain, little swing pass, you get caught in man coverage. They get down in the red zone, you hold your water, bend, don't break. Like, that's what championship teams do. They're able to have talent, yes, but the edge they played with and the poise they played with told me a lot about how far along they are under Mike Norvell. Because a lot of new dudes on this team. Jaheim Bell did his thing. Keon Coleman, we talked about him during the week. Regardless of what we thought the final score was going to be in this game, we knew Keon Coleman was going to get his. You probably knew Keon Coleman was going to get his. Now the rest of the country knows who Keon Coleman is. Last night was a complete clinic. It was a complete clinic, and you know what else? It was extremely balanced. Like, you look at that game for Florida State, and it's a 1-game sample size. So again, we don't want to overreact, overproject, but in that one game, the balance that they had offensively and defensively, you got to feel very excited about what this team could be now going forward. Over 300 yards passing. Jordan Travis was already in midseason form. Over 100 yards rushing. Kind of caught their tempo a lot in that second half. You had that counter run play going with the 2 backs. LSU couldn't fit it, so you didn't get away from it. You just pounded the rock and made them say, Uncle, the physicality. Like, there was the perfect balance of physicality and also, hey, we're going to burn you deep if you don't want to respect us on the outside. Like, there was one play, I want to say it was, I think it was the first half, might have been early second half, but Keon Coleman, the TV cut shows this, sees who's lined up across from him. I don't remember which DB it was, but he very visibly points to the sideline and is like, hey, get me the football. Next play to dial it up. Touchdown, Keon Coleman. So just the attitude they had in this game, also on top of the complete physicality and explosive offensive approach they had and defensive approach they had, like the edge they played in this game, I thought was really fascinating. Because for Florida State, there was so much that we had talked about with them all offseason long, and they were on the cover of a lot of preview magazines. They were in a lot of preseason college football playoff predictions, and there was still a little bit of a feeling of like, yes, tons of talent. Yes, tons of talent back, but this is a lot of pressure on this team. We're crowning this team in a way that is definitely deserved based on what they did a season ago. But you also look at some of their games where it's like, man, when they played a ranked opponent, especially early in the year, middle of the season rather, there was something left to be desired. And then even that game against Oklahoma came down back and forth, one-score game, find a way to get it done. And you don't want to take anything away from that. But you also look at those games, and there was a curiosity, for me at least, coming into this game. Okay, well, what do they look like now with the expectations where they are in Tallahassee? And credit Mike Norvell, credit the leadership in that locker room. We talk about returning production. Returning leadership is arguably more important here. The way that they kept them locked in and the edge they played with, there was no lack of self-belief from that Florida State team. Like watching the way that they finished this game to go on a 31-7 run in the second half against a good LSU football team, the way they went on that run showed me that they believe they were the bully the whole time internally. And it's one thing to believe that you're that guy. It's a whole nother thing to go out there against one of the top teams in the country in LSU and absolutely take them to the woodshed and do whatever you want in that second half. I tweeted it out, and I think it's a perfect example of what Florida State did last night. Jaheim Bell, his last touchdown, gets in the end zone. He didn't just get in the end zone. He finished that run. He lowered his shoulder. He pushed that LSU DB over and just kind of stood there like, yep, we're here. You got to deal with us. All that talking that was done in the offseason about Florida State, what we could be, what we might be, like, it is for real now. You now have to deal with what Florida State's going to be the rest of the season. And I loved the edge they played with, man. I loved the attitude they played with. And it just has to feel so validating for that locker room because the build-up to this game and the hype around this game was enormous. And for them to make a definitive performance and display of dominance the way they did, has to feel good, has to be a confidence builder. But the thing is, I don't know that the confidence was ever really lacking in that locker room. I think they did exactly what they expected them to do. So for Florida State now, the challenge is, can you take the rest of those games as seriously as this one? Because it's easy to get up for LSU. It's easy to say, week one, eyes of the country upon us, Sunday night, Herb Street's calling the game. Like, it's easy to get up for games like that. What happens, though, when that hype kind of dials back a little bit and you got to go play an ACC team that's not supposed to beat you? Can you continue to do what you're supposed to do? Because Florida State now, if you look at the path going forward, we talked about this being like a roadmap kind of game for both these teams. You beat LSU, you could lose that game at Clemson, win the rest of your games, find yourself in the ACC title game, and have a chance to punch your ticket to the college football playoff in that game. Now, for Florida State, I'm not predicting that game. I want to make that very, very clear. Based on last night, actually, I have a very difficult time predicting Florida State to lose any games. But again, we're not going to overreact. The roadmap is clear. You got Clemson, week 4. You got the ACC title game. Those are the next two that are probably going to, ignite a little bit of excitement within that fan base in terms of, oh, hey, this roster could match up with us a little bit better than what we've seen so far. So how do they handle the rosters that have no business being on the same field with them? That's the next challenge for them. We'll talk about week 4 when it gets here. But for Florida State fans now, you got to be thinking, hey, we're not going to play too many teams much better than LSU. And even if we do, based on what we did last night, we feel really good about what we can do going forward. So Florida State handling business, statement made to the entire country. It was complete. It was dominant. And there was a real edge within that locker room, within that team yesterday. And they put it out on the field that they're the bullies. They are the one who knocks, to quote Walter White. And the rest of the schedule for them is going to be a lot of fun to watch how it all plays out. Again, 45-24 in Orlando, Florida State handling business. Make sure you're subscribed. Live tomorrow morning, 11 a.m. Eastern. We're predicting all the games in week 2. Get on in here. We'll talk some ball. Be a real good time. Can't wait to see y'all there. We love y'all. We appreciate y'all. We're going to keep this party rolling. We will see y'all next time. Hey, y'all. Thanks so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel here to make sure you don't miss an episode of The Hard Count. Also, be sure to check out other videos on the On3 YouTube channel.